So you can do this if you're religious, you can do this if you're an atheist, you can do this if you're secular, you can do this if you're spiritual but not religious, you can do this if you're spiritual and religious. Anyone can do this. Hey you! I'm so glad you're here today. I'm Jenny Prochko from Owls and Indigo, and I make videos about journaling, spirituality, the moon, and nature. Today is day 3. Right? Yeah, day 3 of Youtober, and I want to talk to you about my goal setting practice as a couple. My husband and I are really big into goal setting, and I think that has to do with the entrepreneurial mindset. We have our own business together, and then we each have our own individual businesses. Owls and Indigo being my little spiritual baby. So today I want to talk about how I integrate my spiritual practice with my real life goal setting, and then how the two meld together to help me with my mental health. I found that as a person with mental health struggles, I need to be kept accountable, and goal setting is one of the ways that I do that. And instead of picking like a really lofty goal at the beginning of the year and then failing by week 3 of January, I like to break my goals down. So I usually break them down by month, and then after that I break them down into 8 sections so I can make them more achievable and I can figure out what the steps are along the way to accomplish my goals. And it happens to be that the moon has 8 phases, and I love the moon, so I just align my goal setting with the moon. And there are also 8 seasonal holidays that have to do more with the nature religions or paganism, or just people who observe the cycles of nature. And as a farm girl growing up on a working farm in the Midwest, we lived by the seasons. Everything was done by the weather, everything was done by season, and that was because we grew crops and we had animals. So we were definitely aligned with nature because we were in it. We were in the soil, we were tilling the land, we were growing crops, we were fostering animals. We were doing a lot of things that just naturally harmonized us with nature. And when I moved away from the farm, I really missed that. And that's where I first discovered paganism and the different ways that various groups in paganism actually meld nature together and how they celebrate their reverence for nature. So for me, it was just like a perfect fit. I'm not a religious person. I'm a spiritual person. So I guess I get to say I'm spiritual but not religious. There's no religion that I adhere to, but I definitely pull bits and pieces from different religions all over the place, whether that's the world's major religions or the world's minor religions. I'm always eating the fish and spitting out the bones, which means you just take it all in and then leave behind what doesn't work for you or fit with you at the time. And that is how I've approached spirituality as well, and that's how I keep spirituality secular for myself. As a couple, we like to stay on track with goal setting. So we'll set goals for a year's time span or whatever time span we want to choose. And we like to have 8 check-ins, and they happen to coincide with the seasonal holidays in pagan religions, and then also some of the saints' holidays in Christianity and Catholicism. And it gives us a chance to stop and pause our busy lives to check in with those goals that we set for ourselves at the beginning of the year. And it helps us stay on track, and it helps us reconnect as a couple, and then also reconnect back to our innermost true self. And that gives us like a renewed vigor and more gumption to go after our goals, and we feel really great after checking in and celebrating our goals. So the structure we follow as a couple: we set goals for the year for ourselves, and then we also set goals as a couple, and there are 8 holidays which actually coincide with the seasonal changes that you see in nature. So it gives us a way to also connect back with nature. So every time that the seasons change, we check in with each other and we check in with our goals. We'll sit down, we'll make a evening out of it or make a meal out of it, and we'll go ahead and read something that reconnects us back to nature, like a poem or just some bits about nature. We've even done readings from like John Muir and Robert Frost, and we do that just to remind us of the beauty of nature, and then also the beauty in writing, because we're both writers. So we definitely like to soak that in as well when we sit down. And then we talk about what the theme of the season is, whether that's like an actual theme that's reflected back to us in nature, or if it's a theme like Thanksgiving or like Christmas or something around the holidays, or where you are giving thanks and sharing the goodness with your friends and loved ones. So we'll talk about the seasonal themes, and that can be seasonal holiday themes or seasonal nature themes that we see reflected out from nature back to us. Luckily for us, our unit has a tree right out front, and it makes us super, super happy individuals. And we also we review our goals from the previous holiday to see if we accomplished them, and then we'll set new goals. So the way that we set new goals is we will take into account, number one, our overarching theme for our goals for the entire year for what we wanted to accomplish, and then also take into account any seasonal themes. So what we do is we write down our challenges. This could be what's going to get in the way of us accomplishing these goals. There's a busy season of work coming up, a lot of travel coming up, so we aren't going to have time. There's a big project coming up, so we aren't going to have time for our goals. And after we write down our challenges, we write down corresponding goals for the challenges. So we'll take a challenge and we'll flip it around and turn it into a goal to accomplish. So my challenge was, I want to eat a plant-based diet, but it's difficult because of the Western diet. And my goal was to remove all dairy for the month. And then how I'm going to do it is the very next section. So we also write down how we're going to achieve these goals. And the way that I achieved this goal was switching out my creamer in my coffee for a nut milk alternative. I actually make my own creamer as well from almond milk. I've also made oat milk creamer, which is really delicious too. And then I also switched out my cheese for a cheese alternative. And I found along the way that for me in particular, I don't really enjoy the nut-based cheeses unless it's a homemade cashew dip. Oh, that is delicious. But when it comes to like shredded cheese, I really prefer the soy cheese. So they still have dairy, but they don't have the lactose, which I found is much kinder to my body when I eat that. So we'll write down 3 challenges that we're going to face, 3 corresponding goals for those challenges, and then we'll write down how we're going to accomplish each one of those goals. And then after that, we will just go ahead and either share a drink together or share a meal together. We'll cook, or we'll make something seasonal. So like right now, we're in the fall. There's a lot of squash meals that we really like, and there's a lot of apples. So on the fall equinox, I actually made a blueberry crumble from local blueberries and a peach crumble, which was delicious. So good. We like to make this special. So we'll sit down and do this together. And that's our process for how we set goals as a couple and how we celebrate the change of the seasons as a couple as well in a secular way, because neither of us are religious. We were both raised with religion, but neither of us are really religious ourselves. We just really love nature and we really connect to nature. So our reverence that would be in religion is for nature and directed toward nature, and we like to take care of the planet and take care of our home and to get outside as much as possible and to connect back and to give back to the local ecosystems. And then we also love animals too, and it's really important to both of us to lead a life like that takes care of the world that we have, takes care of our local ecosystem, and takes care of animals. And we're able to do that by observing the changing seasons 8 times a year, and then also use our goal setting practice in tandem with the changing of the season, and then also with us being outdoorsy people and liking to be outside. And you can do this on your own. That's what I did for a couple of years, and then we started to talk about it as a goal setting practice as a couple, and then we started this practice together, which is a completely secular practice, but it also gives us a chance to pay homage to nature and to the local ecosystem in our own way. So you can do this if you're religious, you can do this if you're an atheist, you can do this if you're secular, you can do this if you're spiritual but not religious, you can do this if you're spiritual and religious. Anyone can do this. It's just a goal-setting practice that is broken down into 8 phases. And then I take that further by breaking my goals down by month. And I chose to just use a lunar calendar because I love the moon. I'm definitely one of those people that's like, ooh, look at the moon. No matter what phase it's in, I love the moon. I miss seeing the moon every night and a sky full of stars every night because I live in a city now, and I was so used to the wide open sky of the farm and just having no light pollution and seeing it every night. And I miss it so much, and I really enjoy that experience of the night sky and seeing the moon every night whenever we go back to visit. But anyway, so I break my goals down even further by following a lunar calendar. So we've got a year for our goals, and then we break that down into 8 sections, and at the end of every section, or at the beginning, we check in with our goals to see if there are any seasonal themes that can help us accomplish our goals or help us shift our goals or change our perspective on what we want to accomplish so we can accomplish it by the end of the year. And then I break mine down even further to a month time span. So I go from a year to 8 check-ins, and then I go down to a month. So my month has 8 different check-ins as well because the moon has 8 phases. So at every phase of the moon, I refine my goals even further, and I just chunk it down to these little granular pieces that help me accomplish my goals. And I really have found it helps my mental health because it gives me a plan. My mom has always loved to say, let's just play it by ear, and that drives me crazy. I would rather there be a plan to fall back on instead of have no plan whatsoever. So this helps me a lot, and goal setting will help you turn around your mental health and get a handle on it. And if you'd like me to talk further about that, let me know in the comments down below. That is something that I can definitely expand on. So I know this was a little rambly, but I just wanted to sit down and talk with you guys and share my experience and share what we do as a couple. I also like to take photos of our table spread whenever we do these goal setting sessions, just for myself so I can remember the season and also so it feels special, and then I like to share them with you too. So I'm sure you've seen some tablescapes from me over on Instagram, and I'll definitely put them in the article that I'm going to link down below that goes with this video that actually lays out how we do goal setting as a couple. And I'll share some photos here. There's definitely going to be some super pretty tablescapes that you're going to love, and I always like to use fresh flowers as well, any seasonal fruits, just something to make it special and to make it not mundane. So to magic up the mundane, I look for those little magical moments in everyday life, and the way that I make things magical, special moments is by stopping, pausing, and taking the time to celebrate those moments. And I do that through this goal setting practice that I have with my husband as a couple. And I hope that you've enjoyed this video today. I'm really excited to see what you have to say down below. Like, do you have a goal setting practice? Do you observe the seasons and the seasonal changes as well. Are you religious? Are you spiritual? Are you spiritual but not religious? Let me know in the comments down below. You can catch me over on Instagram at alsnindigo, that's where I am most, or over on alsnindigo.com where I share weekly spirituality tips, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss those. I send out a weekly spirituality tip every single Monday. I also send out journaling and writing prompts that go along with the moon phases, and I teach you how to move through the lunar phases with your goal setting. Today would have been a little tidbit on how to do that. And then I also write about mental health and awareness and my story. So if you're interested in those things, and if you're interested in more nature-based videos and content, let me know in the comments down below. I'm so grateful, so grateful that you chose to spend your time here with me today. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.